Welcome back to the show, guys. I am Tyler. I am your host for this show. This is the Cult of Comics. If you've never been on the show before, this is a comic book media podcast, and I'm joined by my usual cohorts, criminals, co-conspirators. Sean, Josh, how's it going, boys?
You're not supposed to tell people we're criminals. We're
Sorry,
under the radar.
what I mean to say
First rule
is
of
alleged
criminal club is you don't talk about criminal club.
Exactly.
What do we call it then? Tiddly. Sorry. What I mean to say is I am pizza slut.
We're lacrosse buddies.
Lacrosse buddy.
We hit our sticks against the balls. And
if you've never been on the show before, guys, my name's Tyler. I'm the host. I'm also known as Pizza Slut. I'm also known as TB. I'm also known as Get the Hell Out of Here. You're not welcome. Exactly. That's Sean. He'll
give you the cough. He'll make you cough blood.
I will. Goddamn right. He's also known as T Daddy. He's also known as Tiddlywinks 1. He's also known as my favorite bear in all the world.
Some days Sean's a bear. Some days he's a twink.
You know, I'm sorry. He's my little otter. He's my little otter. You're right. That's my bad. Grow a little bit of a facial hair. I want to see what you look like, my little baby.
It's right there. He's got it like.
What, the 5 o'clock shadow?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to take you into a gay bar and like have people argue about what you are. That'd be fun. And then, of course, we've got Josh, my favorite little masked furry.
Hey, now.
Who's into wax play. Yes. That's what you are. Anyways, if you've never been on the show before, like I said, this is a comic book media podcast, and this is Monday, August 23rd, 2021. This is our comic book club episode where we're going to talk about all the comic books that we read this week. It's been an interesting week, and I think that we are going to start with Kang number 1. Kang the Conqueror number 1, by Jackson Lanzing, Collin Kelly, and Carlos Magno. This is not an origin story. However, this is a story that is revolving around a few different versions of Kang the Conqueror interacting with each other, one from the future, one from the past.
It is an origin story of sorts.
Sure. I do want to clarify for the audience, though.
It's a beginning and an end.
Absolutely. For anybody who's not familiar with Kang, Kang the Conqueror is a character who has the ability to travel between time. And because of this ability, it's interesting. It develops interesting singular plots for different time points for him.
You'll play a lot of roles. He can be a hero. He can be a villain.
He has been on the Young Avengers. He has been a villain to the Fantastic Four. He has been a ruler of Egypt. And all of those characteristics and qualities about him can be seen repeatedly through different versions of history. However, because of the choice by Marvel to not have characters from different timelines create a time paradox, it has allowed for a plethora, a multiversal multitude of different versions of Kang the Conqueror. And this story revolves around the very first time that Mr. Richards himself in the, what century is he in?
30th?
31st? Yeah. Making the discovery about moving through time and essentially the precursor to him becoming Kang the Conqueror, interacting with the future Kang the Conqueror and traveling around and basically being trained to become Kang. This book caught me off guard. I did not expect to like it as much as I did.
No. This is the first Kang thing I've ever read. Yeah. I only really read it because I know that Kelly and Lanzing are both good writers.
Mm-hmm.
When given a chance to shine.
I went into this actually thinking that this was Steve McNiven on art for a minute, and then I realized it wasn't, and I was totally okay with it. This is great art. This is an interesting story.
It has compelling characters.
Absolutely. There's a lot of qualities about this that works really well. This is not a hero story, so this doesn't follow the traditional hero's journey, although it does have hero's journey elements. You have a character who's the younger version of himself. In this case, you could argue that it's much like the traditional young hero meets the older, wiser wizard or something, learns his lessons, and then grows from there. However, this definitely spits in the face of the idea of what a hero is and allows for Kang to kind of move in his own steps through his own time. Have you guys never read anything Kang wise ever?
No.
Okay, so you haven't read Inhumans recently by Charles Soule?
No, like this.
Okay.
This comic I see as like a primer for the understanding the next phase of Marvel.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I am reminded of what happened with the Inhumans specifically because of the fight that had ensued between Black Bolt and Medusa's son, who would later go on to become something of a great hero or villain, depending on the timeline, fighting King the Conqueror. And in one time that he actually becomes King the Conqueror, weirdly enough, it's like a whole fucky thing. This is, I don't want to say it's a story that has a serious amount of layers to it. It's a very simple, straightforward story, but that doesn't detract from the fact that it's good art. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yeah.
What about it in specific did you guys like?
This first page where there's the war going on around, and they've taken this story about Alexander the Great and kind of turned it on its head, where originally he conquered the world and he wept because there were, well, it's more Caesar. Caesar wept because there were no more worlds to conquer. They do it for Alexander, and they say Alexander the Great learned of the multiverse, that there were infinite worlds out there, and he cries and despairs because I cannot become the master of even one.
I'm really not that familiar with Alexander the Great outside of the fact that he wore a diaper at one point. That's pretty much all I know.
You know the city of Alexandria?
Yeah, of course.
Yes. All of them were named after him.
Yeah. So the only exposure that I've really had outside of that, like a scene from that weird Colin Farrell movie, and occasionally hearing snippets about the original 1950s or 60s Alexander the Great film. There's not much else that I really know about it, but I don't think that you really need to know that in order to enjoy this story.
Yeah. Well, we have our Nathaniel Richards here, and he's maybe 18.
I would say, yeah.
He does say 18. Yeah.
Yeah.
Second page, he says, my name's Nathaniel Richards.
Well, it says by the...
Oh, yeah. Well, he's at least 18.
At least 18. I think, Alexander the Great was 23 when he hit his prime and had conquered the known world.
You heard it here first, John. You're ready. You're in the prime time of your life. Get out there.
Look at what you've done.
Look what you can do. Look at what you're capable of. And what are you doing?
Yeah. They almost tried to sneak in like 2 titles for this issue, because they call it Only Myself Left to Conquer, but then like the tiny portion on the side of the credits page, it says, is he out of time or just in the nick of time? Well, almost like one of those old, like 19 whatever catchphrase or taglines.
Do you remember what the original 2 titles for Moby Dick was? It was Moby Dick and the White Whale or something, or AKA the White Whale or something like that.
How I learned to love the sperm.
Yeah. How I learned to love the atomic bomb.
Yeah.
This was, I think my favorite part of this was the interaction between these 2 versions of Kang, and having Kang get drunk and sad about Addy, and have enough of an emotional response to the trauma that he's experienced about this loss in his life. I don't know what about that. I obviously really love the human elements of stories like this, but that to me was very believable, and not something I guess I would see too often in comic books.
Like if you tried to raise yourself from a young age, the type of friction you might experience.
Yeah. I can't help but wonder if maybe this is an interesting little like itty bitty allegory about generational trauma. I might be overthinking it. Obviously, I have a tendency to do that, but that's the first thing that came to my mind when I finished reading this. Was it doesn't seem like it's that deep of a book, but the first thing I think of is, I mean, he's causing the trauma to himself. He's beating up a younger version of himself. He's trying to raise him to be hardened and way worse than he ever was, to understand from his failures, which to me feels like a father trying to teach the son, be better than me, but also I'm a piece of shit and I like to get drunk and beat you.
Yeah. I always wonder, about these loops, if it's going to continue to trend towards a specific point, or if it will spiral out of control. If you've got this sort of I can't think of the word right now, I've lost the words.
It's okay, take your time. We got time on this episode. It's a short one.
It's a math term, don't worry about it.
That's no worries.
I never realized that the helmet that Kang wore is what gave him the blue face.
Me neither.
Oh, you didn't know that?
No.
I just kind of thought it was
So
his
he
head.
takes the mask off. He takes the helmet off, and he looks like Victor Savage or whatever.
Yeah. Well, so the costume has this is another reason why I think Kang is a cool character. That was a that was a lot of alliteration all right there. Kang is a cool character. He has had so many different changes done to him, but they all make sense. There's been plenty of appearances where he doesn't wear the helmet and he's just wearing the green and pink. But the helmet is the conqueror version of him that you tend to see throughout most of the Marvel universe. I have never heard about this backstory with Addie before this, so this is something I'm going to have to look into later. But this is another example of like what I think is good writing, when you don't need to go back and read all of this stuff in order to really understand what's going on. You can just read this, have a really strong understanding of what's going on moving forward, and the depth of the impact this impact has on these two characters, not just Kang killing off that family, but also how it affects the younger version of himself. I was really satisfied seeing him cast revenge on his older self.
Yeah.
That was
learned a thing or two.
Well, I can't necessarily make a comparison right now, but go ahead.
The thing I wonder about when it comes to like time travel is, did this always happen? Did Kang remember killing himself as a child?
So that's actually a really good question to ask. The answer is that this version is unique to himself now. There are going to be
about that.
I know this for a fact, and the reason why I do is because of the times that Kang has come around, there's been so many different iterations of him. There isn't a singular timeline of Kang. There's 500,000 Kangs that have different experiences. That's why he keeps coming back, even when he gets killed by the Avengers, by Thor, whatever. Something is going to happen where even if you kill that one, there's still the multiverse of timelines available.
So he is the reverse Flash of the Marvel universe.
Exactly.
The only thing I want to point out is like counter to that is that this elder, the lasting piece, paints on his face the two lines that match up with Kang's I don't know what if you want to call that circuitry or whatever that's on his face, where he also has the two lines. So it's almost like this is kind of an origin story for how the two lines came to be. Like he's been here before, and that Kang also experienced this.
Well, I think older Kang wanted him to move along certain periods of his timeline that was similar to his, so that way he could relive certain. I mean, it struck me that he wanted him to relive some of those experiences so he could succeed rather than fail. And I mean, he did go into it saying, "You will not love." So I think that he was trying to challenge him not to have love in his heart, and that obviously backfired. But I didn't know this origin about the lines on his face at all prior to this.
Yeah.
No.
It just seems like too big of a, they're probably just like the artist is like, oh, the King has the lines, let's put the lines on him. But it seems like too big of a coincidence to, have the lines drawn on you like that as a kid, and then, the older King having the lines.
This is also the question of how much does destiny come into effect about these things? Because if Kang implicitly over and over again is going to become the conqueror, or get the suit, or discover the ability to
he seems to be the controller of his own destiny.
That's kind of the thing, is like even in other multiverses, there's still the destinies of each character that you can't avoid Peter Parker becoming Spider-Man unless you have these like very random
all
universes.
Of the even though all of the what ifs and Elseworlds typically diverge from the normal paths, they still seem to come around to being like the origin story of whatever hero.
Absolutely. And I mean, like another example is like the Gwen Stacy, Spider-Gwen, maybe Peter Parker becomes the Lizard, but I mean, he still becomes a part of that universe. And then you've got Frank Castle still being a cop, but he still wants to enact vengeance on people. I mean, there's a lot of it is really just that these creators are just having fun with these characters, but it's also the question of how much does destiny really come into effect here? So it's interesting to see it come to life here.
Do we know anything about this weird civilization that we discover? The people?
I don't know anything about it at all. All I know is
I tried Googling lasting peace, this elder, but nothing.
Yeah. It looks like this is suggesting that there was a civilization of people that existed with the dinosaurs, much in the same way that they did with like the Savage Land or something, or Khazar or something. I don't really know.
It did kind of feel like they had gone into the Savage Land, but I was guessing like maybe it was like Shi'ar people or something.
Sure. Okay. I wish I could tell you, but unfortunately I do not know.
Yeah.
I'm going to dig into it a little bit more either tonight or tomorrow to know the backstory just a little bit more. Typically, I just end up scrolling through the Wikipedia pages, finding the issues, and then reading those.
So the girl that he meets is Addie.
Yeah.
The woman that died that he was in love with was Ravonna, which was Ravonna Renslayer that we saw in the Loki TV show.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot of moving pieces here.
Wait, sorry, say again about who Ravonna is?
Ravonna Renslayer was the lead TVA person.
Yep.
In Loki.
Morbius's boss.
Yes.
Okay.
I know. Yeah, it's kind of weird to think about, right?
Yeah. So that I had learned that part from looking up stuff for Loki, was that in the comics, Ravonna Renslayer is like sometimes his number 2, sometimes his partner.
Yeah. It's this is a really good example of when it's okay to go on Reddit and ask some questions, and then people will help you out with that. Yeah, we don't do ratings on the show, but I mean, I really enjoyed this. I was surprised that I enjoyed it as much as I did. I powered through it really fast. I was able to drink in all of what was going on. I didn't feel really confused. The art was really good. I'm excited to actually continue reading this.
It's 5 issues, so should be
it's
fine.
This is that same issue we were talking about. This is the amount of mini series that are coming out right now.
Too many.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
Well, this is new and this is fresh. This might be my pick of the week.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. There's no baggage from any of the other series that we're reading.
Okay, that's fair.
I mean, there are other issues that I really enjoyed this week, but since this is new and fresh, it's the new toy.
It's the new 52.
It's the new 52 and not the end of 52.
Exactly. Before we move on, Sean, did you have any other thoughts you wanted to say?
No, I'm just looking through my notes now, seeing what we've covered and what we haven't.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we've covered everything I had down.
Cool. Next, we're going to talk about issue number 5 of Home. This is the end of this miniseries. Well, story arc, it looks like, at least.
Yeah.
By Julio, Anta, and Anna. This is... I hate this.
Wieszczyk. I think it's more like a Y. Wieszczyk.
No, I think it's a V sound because I think it's Polish. Wieszczyk.
Okay.
I think it's Wieszczyk.
All right.
I'll just say that. Anyways,
I think we knew that this was gonna try and be like a continuing series, but we'll see how the 5 go. I think we knew kind of from the start that was what it was going to be.
I didn't. I had no idea. I thought this
maybe
was
from like the second issue or something. I remember seeing a lot of people reviewing it, discussions with. I saw or heard discussions with Julio Anta.
I didn't see anything in the back matter that was talking about this potentially becoming something for the future. Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember hearing.
No, he did at the back matter of issue 1 or 2. He talked about there being other superpowered individuals and hope to get to addressing things like that if the series could continue.
Sure. I will say that this ended very nicely. I feel like the ending, sometimes it feels like a bit of a cop out to leave a cliffhanger like that.
Yeah, I knew that it was very dialogue heavy at the end, but you got to get all that out. And whatever way they went, I knew it was going to be the opposite in the cliffhanger.
Sure.
Like if it was devastation at the end, we knew there'd be that sign of hope in the cliffhanger. Or if it was a sign of hope at the end, we knew there'd be that like hook at the end that everything is not okay.
Absolutely. I have a couple of complaints. One of my first complaints is that the introduction of new characters is actually pretty cool. I'm a little weirded out by the fact that the main character's aunt is just kind of like willy-nilly like flowing around, and apparently that didn't get on the
I
news
had
at all.
Similar issues to that. I got some notes. They're a little too powerful, maybe.
I don't really have an issue with them having the powers. I do agree that they're a little overpowered, but
too powered in the sense that why even make the journey to America, they went through the hardship of coming to America when the aunt or the female cousin, I forget what her name is.
I don't remember.
Well, the female cousin could have teleported them there.
Yeah,
even if
instantly.
they had to make it all the way to the border, she could have teleported them past the border. Or if the aunt can fly, she could have, flown them as well. Like they have powers that they could have utilized to completely make this story not even exist.
I think that the point of the story, and I think the point of the journey in general, was to get them to cross the border so they could come there legally and specific.
You need the journey to have this comic. So I think they should have changed the powers of the aunt and the sister.
It also strikes me that they wanted to keep the cousins a secret. So, I mean, there is that. I have a hard time with the address from the Texas governor.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't find it believable, specifically because it's Texas. Texas is historically anti-immigrant, especially within the last 30 years. And I get the goal of having power over people.
Yeah, well, you have the secret plan that we're going to lure them in. So we'll say all this.
Which, I mean, not a bad plot point, not at all. I find the choice interesting. I think this series could have benefited from a better advertising experience in general, because I mean, we all went into this not knowing this was going to be superhero oriented.
Right.
Which is not a bad thing necessarily, because it works out in a lot of ways, but I just feel like this kind of felt like they didn't really know what they were going into, what this was going to be going into, and they were just kind of writing it.
Because I feel like with issue 1, at least, that was a really, really strong story. I felt the emotional weight of each page as I read it.
Yeah.
And then you get to the end of issue 1, it turns into a superhero story, and I didn't really like that.
I was just confused.
Or just have him be the only person with superpowers.
Yeah. Then issue 2 and 3 just made me fall more and more out of love with what I enjoyed of issue 1. And then it's what happened with We Live from Aftershock. Like, you had this really like hauntingly beautifully written first issue.
Just and depressing.
Then like We Live number 1 was beautifully told. It was a perfect issue.
Yeah.
And then you get to the end of about 5 issues and it turns into a weird superhero alien.
We're here.
Power
we're
Rangers
save the
thing.
World.
Yeah.
We're here. We're
because it was supposed to be the world is beyond saving. This is the end.
Yeah. It's just weird.
This kind of goes to show that not all comics should be superheroes.
No, definitely not.
So I don't want to harp on it too much, but
sure.
The different powers they could have given it, like I think the
I know.
cousin's name was Camilla. You could have given her super speed so she could cover, short distances or something to get them out of this situation and not have her have, the teleportation ability. That would have been more limiting. Juan is the boy. Yes.
Yeah. So I think that one of his abilities is super speed and as well as fire. So
yeah, he can kind of run faster, which is what we saw in the last issue. He can shoot fire from his hands.
I feel like this could have been a have you ever seen An American Tale? Fievel?
Yeah.
I feel like
used to watch it all the time as a boy.
See, me too. So I think that this could have followed something of a similar route with that, like a family seeking asylum, the journey, using it in modern context. And then you could have had an interesting story with that by itself. I don't think that I think this had a lot of additional pieces that detracted from the overall.
Team up with a homeless man carrying a bindle and have to take a train across the US.
Yeah. Like there's a whole bunch of things that they could have done here. And I think that it's interesting that they chose to make the immigrants have superpowers. And then they're just like, whatever, they have superpowers.
Like, we see enough, I don't know. I think the ICE agents can be enough of a bad guy if you're doing like a more literal interpretation of them. But these guys are just like aggro, fuck it all up kind of thing. Like they're speaking to him in Spanish, like, I don't want to shoot you, kid, as he's reloading his gun.
Yeah.
Like, where is it? It's I know
what page you're talking about, but I
don't really hey kid, no one wants to hurt you as he's loading his gun up.
Yeah, but you know that he's lying. I mean, of course he is.
I know that, but it's so dumb.
I don't know about that. I mean, do you
like
remember that
the one
kid?
person who can actually speak Spanish to this kid, he's talking to him, being like, "Hey, kid, everything's gonna be okay. I'm gonna be okay. Not you, but."
Do you remember a couple of years back there was a small black child in a park and he had like a BB gun or something or whatever, and he was kind of just pointing it and shooting it at random shit?
Yeah, that was in, I think, Cleveland.
Oh yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, Ohio.
And the cops just rolled up and shoot him right away, no questions asked.
I don't know. I guess you could. Are you familiar with Elian Gonzalez?
That sounds familiar. What was his story?
He was a Cuban refugee that, or was he? No, he's not Puerto Rican. That'd be dumb. Cuban refugee. I gotta look that stuff up.
Okay.
But there was like so much fanfare about trying to track him down. He was a little boy, like Juan here. I feel like they could have done his story as well. Let me get this right. Elian Gonzalez, born in 93. The controversy was in 2099. His mom drowned attempting to leave Cuba. They got to the United States, nestled in a inner tube. So they bring him in, give him refugee status or something. And they tried to send him back. And I remember there's South Park parodied this in one of the earlier seasons with the Russian girl band group trying to find asylum. And the ICE agents again going. I had no problem with that, so I don't know why I have a problem with this comic. You know, that was more of a parody. This, you know, well, I almost want them to take it more seriously than just being like, these guys are assholes and you need to realize, you know.
I think that there's a lot of pieces to this that just detracted from the overall like potential for this book. And that's kind of disappointing.
If they were going to do like, you know, the ICE agents and this guy that seems to be everywhere, they should have been like, we need to call in the specialist, the guy that's, you know, good at tracking down superpowered individuals.
The other thing is that this entire time, I don't know who this ICE leader is. I don't know his name. I don't know what his motivations are. They've just villainized him without giving me very much to him other than the fact that he's ICE. And it's like the kind of villainization that you'd have for like the robber barons. They're just like, man, like I twirl my mustache. This is an overly simple comic, realistically, and I think that that's where we felt kind of disappointed with it.
Yeah, so I mean, he is a villain. I can see that. You know, I don't think it's beyond the pale for the leverage that he has over the mayor.
Sure, absolutely,
but for the mayor to have family that he could have leverage over.
Yeah,
you know, usually you try and hide any kind of, I don't know if I want to call it dirty laundry, but any kind of leverage somebody might be able to have over you, you try and hide that sort of stuff.
Here's my question. How does somebody with a loose immigrant status become the governor of a state? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, this is the mayor that he's talking to. The lady is the mayor.
Oh, okay.
Wait, let me check that real quick. Yeah. The governor is the dude talking, Governor Lee.
Okay.
The lady is Mayor Hidalgo.
I think it's charming that I think Julio Anta was trying to suggest that it takes people who are in positions of authority in order to do the right thing. And I think that's smart and I think that's right, but I don't know if I feel like I'm beating a dead horse at this point. I feel like I'm kind of just saying the same thing over and over again. I'm just disappointed. Yeah. You know?
I read most of this stuff. Didn't say too much. Just, I hope that we can continue doing this or I'll see you in the next thing that I do.
Yeah. Which who knows what's going to happen next after this. It's not like it's sold out or anything.
Sean asked about this off before we started. The art is better in this issue than in previous issues. There's no chibi looking.
There's still some loose qualities about it though. The guy who was trying to Hulk smash them, he looked like he was made out of yogurt at one point.
Yeah, it does look it almost looks like Lupin the Third.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Do we want to move on to Nocterra?
Yeah, that's fine.
Cool. All right. Coming up next, we're talking about Nocterra number 6. This is the end of this story arc, story by Scott Snyder, art by Tony S. Daniel. And it looks like, Sean, you didn't read this one?
Nope, I fell behind. I need to catch up. I think the last issue I read was 3.
This was a good issue. This was
I was enjoying it. It's just it was one of those things that just you missed one issue and then just didn't catch up.
That's fair. This is a good wrap-up issue. In that it doesn't necessarily complete every and doesn't tie up every loose end with the storyline or anything, but it does introduce some potential things to look forward to for the future stories, as well as a little bit more clarification about the motivations for some of the characters as well. For example, I didn't know the motivations behind the 2 old white dudes, Gus and the other guy. I can't remember his name.
I thought that was explained in the previous issue.
So Gus's motivation was clarified, but his brother here is explaining that
it definitely does expand on it, but it was like one is the smart one, the other one's the one that makes a lot of money. I saw the potential and he wanted to just hold on to it.
Well, I guess instead of saying clarify, I should say it expands upon the scope of this character in the eyes of another. And where the story could go in the next arcs. You want to have that world building and then expand to a larger world. So now we're not just staying in, the Eastern Seaboard or something. Now we're expanding, to the country or worldwide. You were saying in the chat that you feel like this would be a good TV show, I think.
So Scott Snyder's been teasing that it will be a TV show or movie. And the last scene where they're basically driving down the hill, they're being chased by the human shades that almost look like shrink wrapped gorillas. But they don't have the power to drive their trucks, so they're like, we're on a downhill incline, we'll keep going, and we can see that light at the end of the tunnel that we're coming towards. And I feel like if you were seeing this in motion and seeing that light coming towards you, I would get like an even warmer fuzzy from reading this. I would really feel something seeing that light coming towards you, and then you're coming towards your friends that have come to save you, and then just see the light just brighten up the entire screen.
I think that Scott Snyder has a tendency to write things much in the same way Mark Miller does, almost like he's preparing for it to be made into a film or a show. Not a problem necessarily, but I definitely feel like this one had a much quicker pace, which is weird because it's actually oversized. It was going at a faster pace than the rest of the previous issues, and it almost made me want to just like say to him like, hey, slow down, because I do want to take some time to understand what's going on here, and I do want to
Scott Snyder doesn't understand that. It's full speed ahead, the biggest, most bombastic ideas you can imagine.
And this is something that I complained about. Well, I said that I was worried about at the beginning of this was I hope he does take his time. I hope he does breathe and pace himself. And it doesn't make this a bad story at all. I'm still, interested in it, but I definitely felt like this was a Scott Snyder book by the time I put this down, I will say that with the getting in the truck, that fit the pacing of that really well. I definitely felt the tension of what was going on with the characters battling out the stronghold. And I definitely felt the connection that Sundog has with Bellwether. I'm sorry, her name is B. Is it Bellwether or is it Weather something or other?
B Bellwether.
So I was right. Thank you. That was cool to see. I didn't know that they had known each other since the beginning of the day that the big PM hit.
I think I don't know if they need to go back to it, but that'd be neat to see how they got out, maybe see more of how they came to be truck drivers. It's weird that everyone has their own call sign, and hers is just her last name. I mean, they're probably going to dig into that later, but because she's not a trucker, she doesn't need one. I don't know how it works. But she hates her last name, apparently. Or her family. She hates her family. That means she was touched as a kid. Jesus, Josh. Yep. I mean, maybe everything's got to be what you hate the most. It's a dark comic, so I mean, I wouldn't necessarily put it past everybody to have that be maybe the reason why. But for Val, it's the big PM didn't affect me that much because I was used to being in the darkness. So for it to be freeing for someone else wouldn't be too far out. Though Tiberius is the name of the other guy.
Thank you. I think that I would love to hear your opinion on it at some point, Sean.
I am planning on catching up before the next arc.
Cool. Mm-hmm. The art's still strong too. I mean, there's definitely some points
Tony
where
Daniels, of course it is.
Well, this is definitely gorier than a lot of the stuff he's done before. So I thought that was cool to see. I think that he still suffers sometimes from making the characters look a little bit too two-dimensional in their movements. But I mean, that's a small complaint in the overall, element of the book itself.
So, but Buffalo Bill, or whatever his name is, Blacktop Bill, wants to
in the basket.
Yeah, he wants to know about the language that the shades speak. He's looking for that HEPA tongue.
Yeah, I think that this is just me speculating. I think that he wants to be like stronger than the actual shades. That's just me speculating, though. I think that he has a suspicion that he can have access to their abilities or to control them or something.
Because as soon as Emery heard from them, Emery had that power to expel light from his body.
Exactly.
The tongue learned an exponential amount about their morphology.
Yeah.
And Eos is the name of whatever the next destination is, where more rich people and scientists are.
Apparently, which kind of, I was reminded of Bird Box with this a little bit. I guess I'm wondering if this is going to fall in that route a little bit. Did you ever watch that movie?
No, I didn't. I didn't fall into the fanfare for that.
It's not that good.
Yeah, I heard.
I think it's depressing, and it's kind of. I really don't like it when stories in general just don't clarify what the monster is or whatever's going on. But the journey that actually does occur is fascinating. I think that the elements in this, getting to that point, trying to come to a stronghold or trying to secure safety, developing your relationships along the way, that's a pretty big cliche in a lot of stories. But Bird Box did a good job in that, despite its massive flaws.
Yeah. We get massive teasers at the end of this.
Yeah.
One of the last speech bubbles is basically telling you everything that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Not later when we learn the terrible truth about Bill or found Eos, or even when we came face to face with Nox.
Yeah.
I don't remember who Nox is, but
they said that Nox is the guy who's been in charge of, I think, hiring Blacktop Bill. He's not the person that Tiberius works for, but I think that they work together, not necessarily for one another or the other.
I like this big, we get those big black pages in between certain points, but I like that miles left to go resetting.
Yeah, I like that.
That's another thing that would have been really good. If you saw that counter coming down and just switch to resetting or something, that would have been really cool.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to reading this and the future of it, because I think that this is a really great time for people to make creator-owned and independent works. I will say this though, I think my limit is going to be that if Scott Snyder does not give me a little bit more time to breathe, I think I might hop off. As good as it is, I think that pacing issue is going to make me feel exhausted from it.
Okay. Oh, now that I'm seeing Blacktop Bill walk around on his own, it's like he just left his entire gang somewhere to sit this whole thing out.
He doesn't really strike me as the kind of character who cares about people in his life outside of his,
Yeah, but he had his whole entourage when he was driving around.
Sure.
And he didn't utilize that at all. He's just riding solo this entire issue.
Yeah. How cool was it when Gus turned and then tore up that dude?
Oh, Tiberius. No, Gus. Yeah.
Yeah. That was
I
cool.
don't know how he held on that long and is.
I don't really like that.
Not exactly a shade, but he's something.
He's almost a shade. I don't know. It felt a little cliche when he was like, run. It's like
the guy that would know the most about it is able to resist it for the longest,
I guess. I don't know. Anyways, that's going to be the wrap up for this arc, at least until we see issue number 7, which who knows when that's coming out.
Yeah. Well, it's not advertised anytime soon.
No,
maybe
not
December.
soon.
Maybe they're taking a few more months off.
Maybe this will be like Witches, where it just takes 7 years until they even talk about it again. Coming up next, we're going to talk about Radiant Black #7 by Kyle Higgins and Marcelo Costa. This was a great issue. This was the first issue I read this week, and I was so pumped about it.
Yeah. It was one of the first ones I read. Yep.
Yeah. Sean, we've been talking for a minute. Go ahead.
Yeah. This book kind of it does what Invincible did, where some of the tropes it takes, then you think it's going to play into them, but it then inverts them and plays with them.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like no one was expecting the main bad guy to be left unconscious at their mercy at the end of this issue.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Spoiler alert for those at home. Like,
I guess I didn't know what to expect going into this, but by the time I left it, I was like, yeah, that's fantastic. Like, I don't think this could have gone any better. See, you making the comparison to Invincible is fun, because I think that that's a fair comparison, considering how much these characters are kind of just like figuring themselves out. It's more believably human than a lot of.
It's doing to Power Rangers. It's doing to Power Rangers what Invincible did to superheroes.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Well, they teleport themselves to Tokyo.
Yeah, and then someone makes the comment about the Sentai.
Yeah, I mean, you can see ordinary gods in one of the advertisement panels.
I love that.
Yeah, in the I don't know what the square is. Anyway, there was the giant conversation that we have between these four characters, and Marshall basically says, "Hey, fuck you," but he says it in the robot language. Volume 1 of the trade came out, and in the back of that is a translation for the entire language. So if you translate some of these robot languages, or whatever you want to call it, it will translate into actual English. It's not just gobbledygook.
Not something that they just like filled in because they didn't want to actually like make the effort to write it in.
Yeah, it's not random.
Cool. I don't know how to feel about how easily they I guess it's not easy that they captured this villain, but I definitely think it's an interesting choice to have it just be so circumstantial that they were just like, oh, I guess we
what
have
a
him.
Crazy random happenstance.
I mean, I guess
you're able to teleport above us, but something happens that you're not. He got too into it. He was too into the kill that he fell the rest of the way and
honestly
fell to earth.
The thing that I found the more captivating was the fact that Marshall is figuring out the powers with the Pink Ranger as they are. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. A lot happened in this issue. Even while they're doing it's almost so nonstop quick fighting, but there's still a lot of dialogue.
Did I miss anything about the beginning here? Was there like an opening sequence that like clarified some of the interactions with these other characters as well, or am I confusing that with the previous issue?
What do you mean?
I feel like I'm remembering that at the beginning of this book there was some like looking back on the interactions with the old elder gods or whatever the hell they are. Am I wrong here? I think I'm confusing that with something else.
Okay. Yeah.
Are we speculating anything about what's going to happen next based on what's going on in this book?
The book has been so unpredictable that I don't really know what to think. I don't know what to predict. Like, no one would have guessed the main character would be written out in issue 3 and replaced with another character.
Yeah. Are you guys sorry.
You're forgiven.
Go ahead, Sean.
No, it's okay. You go on. I was just kind of rambling.
Yeah. Are you familiar with teen books, Animorphs?
No.
Oh,
Alien
Jesus
comes
Christ.
Sorry. But teens come to Earth, or not teens. An alien comes to Earth, gives teens the power to transform into different animals, and they're basically sent to fight this alien invasion. The aliens
I wasn't saying
slugs.
Jesus Christ because you brought it up. I love Animorphs. I'm saying Jesus Christ because he doesn't know what that is, and I feel fucking old now.
Yeah, well, that was from the late 90s to mid 2000s. There's like 50 books. K.A. Applegate, I forget what her actual name is. I was just cranking this stuff out. But they were basically teens that were inadvertently conscripted into an intergalactic war. Like the final scenes of that series are basically like taking their giant spaceship like this, kind of like in episode 8, and basically like set a collision course is like one of the last things. So this giant war that they've almost inadvertently been conscripted into is what it reminds me of.
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that connection really easily. Man, that was a great show too. Well, it was an okay show, but it was.
Sean, what's his face?
The guy who plays Iceman.
Lamplighter.
Yeah.
Iceman and Lamplighter was one of the main characters.
Of stuff, dude. He's been in like massive amounts of nerd pop culture.
Is it him or his brother?
He's a fan too.
He has a brother?
He's a twin.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
No, I had no idea. I'll have to look that up.
Put him down to play Nathan. That's it. You can kill him off real quick. He won't have to stick around.
You know what's weird is like I feel like this was such a strong issue, but I don't really know if I have that much to say about it, which is weird.
Yeah,
because
this conversation has been somewhat short, but it was just very enjoyable. It's an enjoyable
It
ride.
really was, yeah. And I guess it has to do with the fact that there is still that recognition of the tension between black and red. There is a development of the relationship between these new characters, this new potential team moving forward. It is interesting seeing these characters grow in this regard, but it's being told in a way that doesn't feel like the Avengers, for example, where they're just kind of thrown together and then they have to get over their issues with each other and then work from that. This is more paced out. This is taking its time. This is kind of what I mean when I say that Scott Snyder needs time to breathe. You know, this is a good example of that.
I'm reading through the back matter right now, and
what's up?
It's the editor and designer Michael Busuttil who responds to these. It's usually the editor that responds. Like Sean Makowitz is on a lot of the Skybound letter columns.
Okay.
But a teen writes in about how do you break into comic writing and whatnot, and he says, Michael Busuttil says, I broke into the comics industry by making a Power Rangers podcast for 7 years.
Jesus.
All right, guys, we only need 6 more years.
Yes,
we're nearly there.
Okay. I don't really have anything else to say about it. Do you guys?
No.
I have no idea what this back matter is. The Unleashed Echoes of Sorrow.
No idea what you're talking about.
The last 6 pages here are supposed to be some comic that this is the 3rd installment to, but I don't know if I've seen the first 2.
They are in the back. They're in the back of previous Radiant issues.
Are they? Because I don't remember them at all. This is like Commanders in Crisis all over again.
All right. I guess we can move on. Let's talk about Nightwing number 83 by Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo.
Oof.
Sean.
Masterpiece.
Sean, this was such a good issue.
It was such a good issue. Josh is a terrible person for not reading this.
Josh, you're a terrible person.
I need to go back and read the other 82 issues.
No, you don't.
Not even. You just read the Tom Taylor stuff at this point. It's just it's
Tom Taylor.
It's how can I just want to go for it.
All I can say about this issue is that scene where he jumps out the window, swings around the helicopter.
Yeah.
And then like that is one of the most just like vivid action scenes I've seen in a comic book.
See, like you're highlighting that, and my thinking was about Batman holding the framed photo of him with Alfred and talking to.
That was great too.
Those are the moments that I treasure in stuff like this. Like I think about the end of Flashpoint, where Flash catches Batman like almost falling over because of the letter, or even in the previous issue where Batman is like, I'm gonna fucking hunt down whoever's got my fucking boy. Like that's just that shot.
Yeah.
Those little essences of humanity and really just making you understand what the relationship is between these people. If it's Babs, kissing Dick and saying, go get him, Boy Wonder. If it's
that Dick,
go get him, Tiger.
That whole there's so many things about Tom Taylor that you can appreciate. There's the humanity.
The humanity is the main thing that draws me to his writing.
Absolutely.
He writes his characters in believable. He really writes emotion in there as a key aspect of the writing. He's not like, okay, we're coming into this issue and doing a big action scene. He's like, okay, we're coming into this issue and telling an emotional story with an action set piece happening at the same time.
Yeah.
His approach to writing is always the characters first.
Yes.
And then the story surrounding the characters afterwards.
Absolutely. And he's introducing these like new characters and villains and these interactions in ways that don't feel forced. It feels very natural. I almost forget that some of these characters haven't been around for some time. I also really like that in a way he's kind of confronting the online complaint that Batman with his billions of dollars can just like solve all of Gotham's issues. And in this, Nightwing is straight up just saying like, well, I'm a billionaire at this point now. And I don't feel like I deserve it. I'm going to give it away. I'm going to give it to people who need it. And we're going to address all these issues. And him saying in specific, it's getting cold out there. Wow. Loved that. Also, Blockbuster.
Yeah. Kingpin.
That character was so stupid to me prior to this, but now in this, I'm like, oh yeah, this guy's fucking.
It's because here he is being written as Kingpin.
In a way. To an extent. I also really like the fact that these characters are not absolutely stupid. You know, they're thinking about how they're going to get away with the interactions, like tying up those two characters and then making it seem in the eyes of Blockbuster that he was like interrogating them. Really smart, like quick thinking stuff.
And it works for Dick Grayson. He is a smart character.
Absolutely.
He's not just a sexy pair of cheeks.
Help me out here, because you know Tom Taylor more than me. Has Tom Taylor done an ongoing series before?
He did
not
Injustice.
Miniseries. Not well. That's
ran
true.
for years. Yeah. Ongoing series. He's got his 7 Secrets book running at the minute, which is like 14 issues.
Well, I guess I'm thinking big 2.
Yeah, let me have a look. He did do a X-Men run that he found out was cancelled on Twitter while still writing it.
Oh
yeah. There was an article that was like X-Men Red cancelled at issue 12, and Tom Taylor commented on it. He was like, that sucks because I'm writing issue 13 as we speak. Oh.
What a way to find out.
Yeah. And he did like a Spider-Man run as well that was supposed to be ongoing, but got cancelled.
Yeah, Friendly Neighborhood.
Yeah, which was good in places. Probably his weakest work, I think.
A little bit. I think that the introduction of like May having cancer was not an issue. I think that.
No, I like that.
I kind of wanted to have him do, like, you know how like they have teams on Amazing Spider-Man sometimes?
Yeah.
Like writers. I think that he would be a really good member of that team.
He's, if you count Deceased, because there's been like 30 issues of that now.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I guess I'm asking if
I
he's
think
done
this
like
is the first proper big run he's done. So, he did Earth 2 for a while.
Yes, I loved what he did with Earth 2.
That was only great. 12 issues.
Yeah, but it was still really good. And the James Robinson stuff was good
he did All New Wolverine. He did 35 issues of that.
How can I forget that? That was a great
How could you forget that?
How could I forget that? I'm a failure. All right, I'm turning in my nerd card. My bad. I think that the best way I can put this is when you go and you get a superhero comic, you want those superheroes to be good. You want them to be heroes and do the right things and make you feel inspired and care when they fall down and care that they inspire others. And Tom Taylor is doing exactly that.
We also missed a big part of this issue to talk about. He goes to Superman for advice.
You know, I guess I wasn't that surprised by that just because it makes sense. However, I do want to point out something really quick. Highlighted quote from Superman is, "I might be going away for a while."
Yes.
Ooh, shit.
And Tom Taylor's also writing the ongoing Superman book about John Kent.
Well, they've been teasing us long enough.
but it hasn't been discussed in the PKJ book yet about him potentially leaving. So this is confirmed that Warworld is going to happen. He's going away. It's going to happen now. I mean, we kind of knew anyways, but this is that precursor moment that we've been waiting for.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
But yeah, I just really liked how, because Superman and Dick always did have a friendship before New 52.
Yeah.
Nightwing's name comes from a superhero from Kandor, Nightwing and Flamebird.
I forgot that. Yeah.
Yeah, they always had this like sort of brotherly relationship, I'd say. Not brotherly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Superman's his big brother, kind of.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
And then since New 52, they've not really interacted a whole lot. So it's nice. It's nice to see them in a place where Dick would go to him for advice again.
Which you would kind of think of people in the Bat family that would do that. Nightwing would be the one to do that the most often.
Yeah.
You know, he's the most wholesome. He's the most optimistic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is also highlighted in the Batcat issue this week. Let's see here. Shall we move on to Supergirl?
Yeah.
Cool. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, #3 by Tom King and Bilquis Evely. Wow.
This was amazing.
Josh, did you read this?
He did not.
No.
Because he's terrible.
Why are you this way?
Why
I'm
are you
sorry,
the way
I
that
just
you are?
can't put Deep Beyond down, guys.
I didn't expect this
I'm like,
to
should
cover
I
genocide.
read Superwoman? Sorry.
It's the delay. You're fine. I was just going to say that I didn't expect this to deal with genocide.
No.
At all.
What goes hand in hand, like Supergirl and genocide?
Well, I mean, you're not wrong necessarily, but I guess it's just interesting to see that this was kind of overtly like telling the story while also being like, hey.
Yeah. I think this is one of the best issues Tom King has written of anything.
Agreed.
Like the way the mystery is weaved throughout, the way it does build up, the fact that it is essentially a one-shot issue.
Basically.
Even more than he's doing Strange Adventures, isn't he?
Yeah, and that's a really good overarching story. But I think just as a single one issue, this is the best single issue he's written of something.
I agree.
Just because it's relatively self-contained. It's about the whole story is Supergirl and this young girl she's kind of taken under her wing, planet hopping to try and track down this girl's parents' killer.
Krem of the Yellow Hill, I think his name is.
Yes. So this issue dealt with them arriving at a town that supposedly arrested Krem a few weeks before, but they're all being very hush-hush. They're like, oh no, he was never here, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then Supergirl's like, there should be another race living here. Like, why? Where have they gone?
There's like all of these hints and little Easter eggs or what have you about an entire
the mystery is there. The clues are seeded throughout.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that there was a genocide of the other alien race, and it's very dark.
Yeah, an exterior alien species had come to their planet, which historically was genocidal in their behaviors. And this blue race of aliens that Supergirl is interacting with and is trying to uncover their secret made a deal with this genocidal exterior race, thanks to the help of Krem, who they let go. They pay off the genocidal race, half of what they usually would pay in order to make sure their species isn't destroyed, and then offer up the minority groups of aliens who are purple. And they even identified that these purple aliens are put into lower income areas, housings, less fortunate circumstances in general. And it very much is a direct, like you can make a comparison between the redlining of neighborhoods in the US or even about the SS traveling to other countries. I mean, you can make various comparisons throughout human history about what this could be, but in overall encompasses that. But the thing about that makes this issue good isn't all of that. It's how it ends, which is Supergirl's new partner realizes the scope and realizes that it doesn't matter that she's Supergirl. It's the realization that this is everywhere at all times, and you can't be a hero every single time.
Yeah,
though it's just too big.
The last words of the issue are, "It's too big, we're too small."
Exactly. And that's the thing that makes it good.
If the ending pays off, this might be Tom King's best book.
Maybe. Who knows?
Six issues?
8. Like, I loved Mr. Miracle. I loved Omega Men. I love Strange Adventures.
I'm really loving Rorschach. Yeah.
Rorschach kind of last issue let me down.
Okay.
But like, this has just been it's fun while dealing with heavy tones.
Absolutely.
Like,
and it's not like it's like an overly preachy book or anything. I mean, it's very much telling its story while allowing some of that subplot and background plot to come into the foreground.
Before this issue, it felt like the least Tom King book he's written.
Yeah.
But then this issue was full Tom King.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's also interesting to have him write about these tones and frames and experiences instead of coming from the lens of somebody with trauma and having a little bit more of that fantasy element. It shows his strengths as a writer, which nobody can deny at any point anyways, but it's awesome being able to see him step outside of his comfort zone and do something that's different while still feeling like Tom King.
Yeah. Oh, just while we're on the topic of Tom King, a few hours ago, he posted on his Twitter, it was just close up of a speech bubble. And he said, "First lettering on my first creator-owned comic. Holy shit, this is very real."
Hell yeah.
So it's on its way. It's coming.
Why does he keep saying that it's his first creator-owned book when he's done...
Sheriff Babylon's co-owned by DC.
Yeah, that's fair.
He doesn't fully own it.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay.
Yeah.
We can move on to the last comic of this week that we all, most of us read, Superman and the Authority.
We all except Josh.
Hey man, I guess it's just no DC for me this week.
Apparently.
Why don't you want to be happy?
Why is it that you don't want joy? Why are you this way?
Oh yeah, I don't get joy if I don't get DC comics.
Correct.
Sorry,
Superman
let
and
me
the
just go
Authority
back
#2.
and read my Deep Beyond comics
by Grant Morrison, Mikel Janin, Mikel Hannon, and others. This is we say others in specific because a lot of other characters that are introduced in their being brought onto the team. Art is done by other people instead of Mikel Hannon. I don't know what to cover first. I don't know if I should cover.
Let's go story to story.
Okay, let's just go straight into the Steel story. Like, how fucking how fucking great is it that she's fighting literal like body shaming trolls, a series of like cyborgs that are spreading misinformation, and
Jesus. Did Chip Zdarsky make this?
No, dude, it's fucking Grant Morrison at his most Grant Morrison-y. Like, he's such a fucking like, he's just unafraid of just making fun of everything and then just making it into a comic book. And I love it. I'm sorry, I keep doing that. I'm so not accustomed to their new pronouns.
Yeah, you've literally got trolls swinging through a city saying, "Look at the immensity of her butt. Kill yourself."
Seriously, like they literally say that.
Dang.
Oh, and then what did they say? What did the cyborgs say at one point? They said,
"Funny, no one remembers COVID 1 through 18."
like they really did that.
Here's proof the devil invented multiplication.
God, all these like random like conspiracy theories and misinformation bots that are coming around.
Deny the deniers.
Yeah. And then it finalizes this little fight with Steel's daughter with edgelords, like literal edgelords.
Edgelords Eternal.
Edgelords Eternal. And what do they like say to her?
Girls can't be superheroes, especially silver-skinned girls.
Yeah.
Disagree and naked pictures go to granny.
Like, that's an actual quote from this book. Like, you could not get any more fucking ridiculous with this, and it's awesome.
And this is over how many pages?
This is actually a thick book.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 pages.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. There's a lot of time that was put into this. I was surprised. I didn't expect it to be this many pages for a book. You've also got Midnighter and Apollo, obviously.
Did you notice there was a TARDIS in this issue? there's several time machines in the super cave.
Is there really?
Yeah.
Or like that
I
kind of
missed that.
stuff.
Go to the middle page. Go to the page just before the Apollo story. I don't know if you've got it in front of you.
Yeah, hang on, let me get there. Okay. You said the Apollo story?
The page just before.
Okay.
It's in Superman's, like, he's got all these. He's got
What's
the
the page
Titanic
on your
there.
digital reader?
14.
Okay.
It's the page where Manchester Black says, "Do I detect Batman in B?"
Oh. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you've
Yeah,
got
I see
the
it.
time machine from the Time Machine, which I bought yesterday somewhere.
The book, The Time Machine.
Yeah, I bought
Nice.
early printing of it.
Okay, right on.
Wait, was it the Time Machine or was it Invisible Man? It was the H.G. Wells story, but I don't remember which one.
It's the no.
All of
Oh,
them.
you're saying the one you bought this week?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
it was the Invisible Man, not the Time Machine.
Okay.
Yeah, you got the TARDIS, you've got a DeLorean, you've got, what is the red one?
I don't know. It looks like a pod. I'm assuming it's just his pod from when he crash landed.
It's weird. It's on the page of all time machines, because then there's one on the right as well that looks like something, but I can't place it.
Well, I mean, that obviously is the DeLorean, and then I don't know what that other thing is.
I'll send a
Hold it up.
picture in case Josh can
Yeah.
enlighten us.
I don't really know what it could be. No idea. This is obviously during a period where Superman is losing some of his abilities as he's getting older, and that's why he's been building up this team, thus the need for the Supermobile, as it said. Man, that sometimes Grant Morrison weirds me out to the point where I can't read their stuff, but this is the quality that I want to see in their work. Who is this artist that did Apollo and Midnighter are hard?
I do not know. I think Kaggle.
I really like this
it. Doesn't
artist.
it doesn't have a credits page. So it's difficult.
It doesn't.
Evan Kaggle or Fico Ossid.
It's really good art. Like, this is god tier level art. Like, I'm baffled, honestly. And this is also another example of where I need to stop reading books that have shirtless Superman drawn by Mikel, because it is leaving me confused.
I found it hilarious, the bit where Midnight said to Apollo, it was like,
"Sexy daddy,
you're now on a team Superman," and sexy dad Superman, not skinny next gen.
That was so fucking goddamn funny. Yeah. I cannot begin to explain to you how much I laughed. I cannot begin, because I made that fucking joke.
Yeah, you made that joke during Future State when you're Daddy Superman with his grey hair and muscles.
It's a good thing I'm seeing my therapist soon. I think the only thing I didn't really like was the Enchantress part.
I really liked part of it, but I found it confusing. Also, there was one panel that looked a lot like a Bendis Avengers cover.
Which panel?
It's the page where you see Helltop Asylum, and just under that.
I'm looking for it. Hang on. Oh, okay, I'm there.
It's reading a space-time damage, gravitational and thermal anomalies. That page.
I think that the reason why you're saying that is because of the cover for New Avengers #1.
It is probably that.
It's because of the red lightning bolt in the back.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, this Enchantress story isn't necessarily bad. It's leading up to the next.
The lightning bolt is the same shape, more or less.
Okay.
It's very.
The fact that you're making that comparison is very interesting. But okay.
Yeah, it's very, very similar. The silhouettes with the red lightning behind them. Yeah.
This is a 32-page book.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a long book.
But yeah, I did like the June story. Like, Superman just busts in. It's like, you're in hell. I'm here to get you out. Take my hand.
And then it obviously is going to lead into the Superman and the Authority in hell issue that's going to be coming up next. But
I don't know what the point of the series is. It's only 4 issues. We're halfway through.
I know.
And he's only just got the team. Next issue is in hell. There's no.
I'm kind of confused too.
There's no. I trust Morrison because they're a great writer. They understand Superman.
Sure.
I sent you a picture of my purchase, didn't I?
Of what?
I sent it just before we started the podcast.
Oh, of All-Star?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the best runs ever made ever.
Yeah.
Ever. Like,
yes.
No one can argue that. So yeah, absolutely. Grant Morrison knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
It does seem interesting. I mean, these are big issues, so there's that, but it is a question of what is the point of the series at this point? Because if we're only just now getting the band together,
Yeah. Maybe it'll lead to something else Morrison's writing in the future.
Maybe this is just leading you to think that this is going to be a super guy, punch bad guy story, and maybe it's a little bit more than that. I mean,
it could well be.
Morrison has a tendency to overpack a single page with a single amount of detail. So, I mean, it's not like there's going to be a lack of story going on, right?
No, true.
No. Yeah. If anybody should be reading this, it's Josh.
Yeah. I looked through the first issue and I was just kind of mad about it.
Well, you're a terrible person. And
yeah, we say that to each other all the time.
I'm going to give your address to the mafia so they can finally find you. The only question is, which one do I give it to? The Russian, the Irish? Don't know.
Who knows?
Anyways, point being, this is a really fun story that's going on right now, but there's also a really interesting element of allowing new-ish artists to kind of show up as well. And
Travel Foreman's he did Lemire's Animal Man run back in
he did.
Too.
Yeah.
I don't think they're particularly new artists.
I guess I've not seen them around in a minute then. Yeah, but it's kind of that question of like, what's the point of this right now? Because as much as I'm enjoying this, I can't help but wonder what's going to happen next. I could just love this singularly for the fact that Black makes that gay joke about being 48% gay. Just for that line alone, that was hilarious. Or I could love it for the edgelords. Like, there's a lot of things to love about this, but it's a question of where is it going to go? I guess we can wrap up there and then talk about our shout outs this week.
Yeah.
Cool. Who wants to go first?
Go on, Josh.
Fine, I'll go.
Fine.
What you want a piece of this?
You want a piece of dish?
Oh, it's on.
I got Time Before Time number 4. It was an issue, so that's why I'm shouting it out.
Story of your life.
I have read this issue, and it was an issue. It says very clearly, no refunds.
God damn it!
I just wanted to point that out. Yeah. I think there's like maybe 2 trying to bust down the doors. The kids, they're breaking in, they're just clawing at the doors. They keep hinting at certain connections between characters, and they just don't come out and say it. I'm like, these 2 are probably siblings, and this guy probably, dick these people over. And you're supposed to put these together, but I hate that, and I wish they would just come right out and state it, obviously, because it's not funny.
It kind of seems like this series is going about the way that I thought it was going to.
Yeah. So it's gone like full circle and nothing's changed.
Yeah.
And they basically have like a stripped down TARDIS that they throw this guy into.
What is it with the TARDISes this week? TARDI?
Yeah. TARDISes probably. I don't know what the country of origin is.
Who are you calling a TARDI?
And they send this guy out in time. So nothing changed. Like, his whole journey had no point. And they're like, you got to earn back all the money you lost us, or I'd kill you.
Right.
But it's like, why not just kill him and send somebody else in the issue, just in the series? So I'll pick up the next 2 and whatever.
Swear to God. Sean?
I read Flash 773 this week.
How was it?
By Jeremy Adams and Will Conrad. It's really good. This book has been really, really enjoyable the whole way through.
You sent us screenshots of it, so
yeah. Instead of the normal punching the bad guy to take him down, Wally stopped, spoke to Heatwave, talked him down, made sure he got the help he needed. It was a really, it's nice to have a book like this where,
okay,
it's not all punchy. There is like human moments in it. It's a very human book.
Okay.
And I sent you that page where Wally's like sat at a computer and he's like, "Oh, I'm so bored." And then he gets all excited because there's a fire somewhere. And he's like, "I mean, oh no." And then he just smiles and runs off.
I like that.
Yeah. Like there's comedy in this book. There's heart. There's, Cool, would I compare it to the comedy and heart of Nightwing? No. But I still really enjoy it.
I can respect that you feel that way. I'm torn between my shoutouts because I read Gamma Flight 3 and Black Hammer Vision 7. I think I'm going to shout out Black Hammer Vision 7.
You can shout out 2 if you want.
No, I'm just going to do one.
Okay.
Black Hammer Vision 7 by Cecil Castellucci, Melissa Duffy, Bill Crabtree, and Nate Picos. This was a very meta book. This was dramatically different from all of the other Black Hammer Visions books that I've read so far. This revolves around a character that has not yet been introduced. She has rainbow powers, basically, that was enhanced by a moonstone. Exactly. But that's not what the plot of this is. The plot of this is that she is a comic book character who has been sidelined and underutilized for years. Creators of actual comic books are in this book. Their faces are blacked out. They have interactions with the actual comic book characters themselves. This character feels conflicted because she doesn't understand why she isn't being written into more comics. She ends up hanging out and playing poker with a bunch of anthropomorphic animals and feeling frustrated because she thinks that she's a strong supervillain. She ends up taking over and making her own origin story, retelling it, making herself more powerful, more interesting. And overall, it's an interesting meta book that seems to kind of talk about the industry as a whole and how even though so many characters, so many things are going to be made and created, it doesn't always mean that these good, interesting characters are always going to be used. And sometimes they just get lost in the pages of time. And I don't know if there was an overall message with it, but it was thought-provoking. It definitely made me sit down and just kind of think for a little while. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's good. Because Cecil Castellucci is a writer who's done DC stuff before, and it's never been amazing.
No? I'm not familiar with their work at all.
No, she did a Batgirl run that was very, very lukewarm at the best of times, very, very bad at the worst of times.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Okay.
Yeah, and she's done other bits here and there. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah.
Okay.
But it seems like maybe she's better at doing creator-owned stuff, because she
and this
did
isn't the first one, right?
She did Shade the Changing Girl.
Right, that's what it was.
And
okay.
that got a lot of praise.
Yeah.
So I think she struggles to write stuff in the strict editorial mandated little world.
I mean, she wouldn't be the first one.
No.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about our picks of the week.
Josh.
Who, me? Man. I keep going back and forth between Radiant Black and King the Conqueror. King the Conqueror is new and shiny. Radiant Black was a great issue. So I don't know. Was there? I think there was a no, wait. No, there was not a Deep Beyond issue that came out this week.
I swear to God, Josh, I'm going to get your wife.
Hey, now.
Listen.
Let's not go there.
She's a mother. I know she's strong.
Yeah. Yeah, she is. She's a good Irish woman.
I don't know what that means, but okay.
Strong like a potato.
Strong. All right. What are you thinking? You gonna go with Kang?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Kang.
Probably a good choice. Sean?
It is a very tough week because all the ones in the running are all the books I read this week because they were all very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to go with. What are you going with, Tyler?
No. You get to make your decision. You don't get to base it around mine.
I am going to go Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, number 3.
Superman,
Right on.
Woman
I
of
was
Tomorrow.
actually going to pick that.
It was great.
It really was. It was
DC is very progressive.
Yes. Superman wears a skirt.
It's probably happened before.
Probably. Pink.
It's
Kryptonite.
almost like The Simpsons. Like Superman did it.
Do I go with Nightwing because of the emotion
it was
that I
very,
felt from
very
it?
good.
Yeah. Do I go with Supergirl because the ending was so poignant, so hitting? Do I go with Superman and the Authority because of how fucking ridiculous it is?
It was titillating.
Yeah, tantalizing.
Yeah, Josh, you saying about how progressive DC is. Have you heard about Pink Kryptonite?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the reactions of people learning that Pink Kryptonite was a thing.
But like,
And
it's
still
one of those
used,
things.
like recently.
It was created in the like early to mid 2000s. It's
Yep,
not some leftover Silver Age thing.
Yep.
I thought it was created much earlier, but still used like relatively recently.
It was invented in like 2003, 2007, something like that.
If it was a leftover Silver Age thing, you can kind of think, okay, product of its time.
Yeah.
But no, it was invented in like 2003.
Not long ago. I think I'm gonna go with Nightwing 83. This is the story right now that has solidified a love that I now have for Dick Grayson, and I'm gonna choose that.
Do you love Dick?
I loved it. You know I love Dick.
Apparently, the Pink Kryptonite was supposed to be satire of the Silver Age comics.
It is, and I think that most people kind of miss that, but you know how people are. They discover one thing, and if they don't read comics, they'll discover it later on Fox News, and then they're like, I have feelings that don't matter because I don't actually.
The embodiment of my father-in-law.
Next week's books are going to be King Spawn #1 by Sean Lewis, Echo Lands #1 by J.H. Williams III, Superman 78 #1 by Robert Venditti and Wilfredo Torres, Superman vs. Lobo #1 by Tim Seeley and Mirka Andolfo, Darkhawk #1 by Kyle Higgins, Superman Life Story Annual.
Oh, that's supposed to be Spider-Man.
Spider-Man Life Story Annual #1.
Spider-Man.
By Chip Zdarsky.
Dark Blood #2, Mother of Madness #2, Department of Truth 12, The Old Guard Tales Through Time #5 with the story by Jason Aaron, Alien #6, which will be the end of the first arc by Philip Kennedy Johnson, Action Comics number 1034, Superman Son of Kal-El #2. And this has been our Comic Book Club Roundup episode. That's all the stuff that we read this week. You heard our pick of the week. You heard our shout outs. Go out there and buy some comics, support your local comic book stores. Anything else you guys want to say before we wrap up and call it good?
Josh, go read Supergirl and Superman.
God,
and
seriously.
Just right after I get done with all my other stuff.
No.
My wallet weeps.
Now.
Mine too. Jesus wept, and so does my wallet.
Yeah. Jesus wept because there were no more people to convert. I don't know. Sean and I are going to do a separate video away from Tyler about all the different bad idea comics from the past 5 months, I guess.
Fair enough.
Yep. Tyler won't even deem bad idea with a response.
I just haven't read anything of it. This is news to me, by the way. Like, hey, thanks. Hey, host. Bye. We're going to do a thing without you.
Yeah, you've